Welcome back. So tonight I went with a lower light purple because why not? It was mentioned in the comment section last night. I was having an email exchange with somebody who has light sensitivity issues. So I don't, and I know that's not something that everybody has, but I also don't want videos that I make to be causing people headaches other than people who just don't necessarily like my videos, which I'm not sure why they watch my videos, but that's why I'm trying something different. So if that helps, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to change up colors and whatnot. And again, I enjoy having the lights. One of the things is that my stepdaughter's room is right next to this one. So when I come in and I do the reviews late at night, I turn the light on to do the reviews. And when it's the light overhead, it's really bright. And so I figure these aren't. So it shouldn't wake her up. And sometimes when I'm doing a review, I know it wakes her up. And I feel bad because we know that I do videos late at night sometimes. Her bedtime's 8 o'clock usually. So that's one of the reasons why I said, you know what, I should get some softer lights. So when they're on, and I leave these on because they're just LEDs, so they don't use very much power at all. It's not going to cause any kind of problem. It's bad enough I've got the booming voice, right? So that's part of the reason why, and I think it gives a different look. So there you go. First game up tonight is Buffalo in against Florida. So this was a must-win for the Buffalo Sabres. Fading. And for Florida, they hadn't lost in regulation twice in a row all season. So the shots were 1-1 at the 5.5-minute mark of this game. It was very wide open, not a lot of opportunities. That would change. Ullmark denied Trocheck, and then he denied Boyle on that same play. So very good play early by Ullmark. And Dadonov looked good, and I had to put on the board, I think he's underrated. I think we talk a lot about Barkov. I think we talk about how much Barkov's underrated. You know what? He's got a line mate, Dadonov, who's pretty good as well and has 10 goals coming into tonight's game. The Sabres got the first power play, which led to a breakaway for Colton Sceviour. Sceviour was not a happy camper. He wasn't happy that he missed that, and apparently he had some choice words for himself when he got back to the bench. The Sabres went about 10.5 minutes without a shot. Now what happens is goaltender can get kind of cold from not facing any rubber, and Skinner would score from Eichel at 16:24, and that was the third shot of the period, and that was the first in, I want to say, at least 12 minutes of action for Buffalo. And it was deflating for Florida because they had outplayed Buffalo by a large margin to that stage of the game. And then less than 2 minutes later, Gergensen scored at 18:23, and I thought that was a goal that Montembeault should have had. So that makes it 2-0 after one. Early in the second, Eichel scores from Dahlin and Bogosian at 3:42. That was the second shot of the second period. It was the 7th shot overall in the game for Buffalo. 3 out of 7 shots had gone in. That's a problem. Play, I thought, had favored the Panthers. Now, the Panthers tried to answer in their defense. Montembeault, I thought, made a nice stop after that against the Buffalo Sabres. The Panthers get a power play. Achari would score at 9:29. That was not a power play goal, but Noel Achari with a nice one that had 2 assists on it, I thought, but at the time that I'm recording this, they still show it as unassisted. I think it's going to get changed. I think we'll see at least 1 assist in that. But, yeah, that was, and I think it's Tony Nato who's going to get the assist on that. Maybe Sceviour as well. But after that, Ekblad hit the post, and you got the feeling like, all right, Florida's coming back. However, Olofsson scored from Reinhart and Eichel at 14:41 to make it 4-1. The Panthers then got a power play. They wouldn't score on that one. But after the second period, while we're waiting for the third, if I had 10 cents for every single time that somebody on the Florida announce team talked about how Florida makes all these comebacks, don't worry, Florida could make a comeback. Hey, Florida's the best at making comebacks. Hey, all those comebacks? Knock, knock. Who's it for comebacks? Yay, Florida got you again. It was driving me insane because, again, and I mentioned this after their last 4-0 comeback, you can't keep doing this. And Joel Quenneville himself has said, I don't like this because they can't keep doing it. So the coach agrees with me on this. Third period, the Panthers get a power play. Connolly scored from Ekblad and Trocheck at 3:06. That's Connolly's 11th power play goal. And the crowd was into it. And the announcer said, here we go. And I thought, yeah, this could be another one. And all I could think was, if they come back and win this again, I'm never going to hear the end of it. The Sabres, I thought were holding on a bit while Florida was rallying late. Gergensons, however, would score from VC and Larson at 13:25, and that's the dagger. Buffalo would win this one 5-2. Your 3 stars are Eichel, Gergensons, and Ullmark. Ullmark saved 43 out of 45. Montembeault saved 20 out of 25. I'll say of the 5 that went in on him, I'll say 2 of them he probably should have had. But again, Montembeault hasn't been playing a whole lot, and he went a long time without shots in this game. So it's hard to stay sharp when you're not facing anything. Shots in this game to throw that home, or drive that point home. 12-5 Florida in the first, 16-9 Florida in the second, 17-12 Florida in the third. Final shots, 45-26 in favor of the Florida Panthers. Their power play went 1 for 4. Buffalo's goes 0 for 2. So Olofsson's goal, that's his second, that scored 5-on-5. He just has the 6 power play goals to start his career. Since then, they've been 5-on-5 goals. So we'll see if Buffalo can build on this, and if Florida can bounce back from the first time this season that they've lost back-to-back in regulation. Moving along. Carolina. This was not a great game. I'm not going to pretend this was a great game. This one was hard to watch because you've got a really good game here. This one was a really, really fun game. And Carolina-Detroit, it's a snoozer. And if you're a Detroit fan and you're not worried tonight, you must be banking on getting that number 1 draft pick. It's the only reason I can think for why anybody would come out of tonight not at least a little bit concerned. So the first half of the period favored the Canes. Howard made a really nice stop with his mask. So not necessarily a stop made on purpose, but it was a stop made because of positioning. That's why it's noteworthy. The Canes got a power play in that second half. There was a great shorthanded break for Helm. And then Howard and Reimer, I thought in that period, were both pretty solid. Second period. The Wings had a near miss at around the 3-minute mark. And they were hanging around, but they weren't great. Pesce then got hurt blocking a shot and exited the game at that stage. If Carolina was to lose Brett Pesce, I don't think that for people who don't watch Carolina, they would understand just how important Pesce and Slavin both are. Hamilton's playing fantastic right now, but Slavin and Pesce are the heart and soul of that blue line. The Canes got a power play. They wouldn't score on that, but Aho would score from Teravainen and Svechnikov at 10:37, and the Canes were just controlling that puck in that second period. There was a long period there where Detroit just wasn't getting shots, and that would be the whole topic of conversation in the second and in the third as well. Turnovers were a problem for the Wings, and in between the second and the third, the Detroit broadcast crew was going over all the turnovers in their own zone and how they were making life difficult for Jimmy Howard. And I'm sure if Howard was watching this in the dressing room, he'd be like, see guys, I'm telling you, this is bad. So in the third period, it was a really quiet start for the Wings. You need to bounce back. You need to say we're at home, we've got a chance, we're only down by 1, our goaltender's pulling us through this, we've got to get that goal, and there wasn't any pushback. Now, there was some great play by Carolina to shut them out, but really, the pushback by the Wings, when you have 8 shots in 40 minutes, that's a shot every 5 minutes. That's not enough. Reimer's stick clipped Helm as he went by the net. They didn't call any kind of penalty on that or anything. They probably could have. I don't know if that was on the follow-through, but yeah, he caught him. And a goalie stick catches you in the face. That's got to hurt. The Wings had 1 shot in the first half of that third period. So you're down a goal. You're at home. You desperately need something. You get 1 shot in the first half of the period. The Canes really had the Wings pinned down in their own zone a lot in that second half. There was a late Wings power play. They pull the goalie. So what happens? Teravainen scores into an empty net from Sebastian Aho at 18:47. And that's your game. And I thought it was a really easy third period for James Reimer. Very, very easy overall game for Reimer. He only faced 19 shots. Saved all 19. Howard saved 34 out of 35 and was your first star. Second star, Reimer. Third star, Sebastian Aho. Power plays, Carolina 0 for 2. Detroit 0 for 1. If this is what their attack looks like without Mantha, going to be a while before we see some scoring from Detroit. I would say probably until Mantha gets back. Shots were 12-11 in the first for Carolina, and then 11-5 Carolina in the second, and 13-3 for Carolina in the third. Final shots total 36-19 in favor of Carolina. That's just not good enough. Nowhere near good enough. So Detroit, 31st on the board last night. They're 31st on the board tonight as well. And yeah, so 2-0. And let's go ahead and move along. All right, Oilers. So the Oilers went in tonight and they did what they did to Arizona. And I'm realizing, I'm looking at the board and I'm going, all right, so people can see that I moved Buffalo up to 23rd. It's not a big deal because it's 6 days before I do the power rankings. So I'm moving things around. The board's ended up over here. It's not a big deal. You can only see where 5 teams are, and nothing's really moved other than Buffalo passing Ottawa, which could change the next time Ottawa plays, which I believe is tomorrow. That preview will go up early tomorrow morning. All right, Edmonton and Arizona. Shootout in this one. Let's see how we got there. First period, power play. Early for the Oilers. James Neal scores from Draisaitl and McDavid at 2:05. So Neal slowed down, but that's still his 9th power play goal. He's behind only Draisaitl in that regard. The Coyotes got a power play, and then after that was killed off, they got a second power play. Koskinen denied Kessel in close, and Kessel really thought that was going to go in. Soderberg, however, would score from Schmaltz and Goligoski on that power play at 9:43, and it was a really nice goal for Soderberg. Really, really nice goal. That's the 7th of the season. The Coyotes, with 3 minutes left in that period, then hit a post, 1-1 after 1. Second period, Chason scores from Gagne and Clefbaum at 1:22, and it was an Oilers friendly bounce that led to that goal, but who cares? Gagne, who has fought his way through the American League, gets into the lineup and gets a chance to prove himself because Nugent Hopkins is out for this game and the next game while he is nursing some sort of a hand injury that's been nagging him. Gagne gets on the board. It's a good story. Fisher then scored from Grabner and Goligoski at 11:52, and less than 2 minutes later, Hinostroza scores from Goligoski and Chychrun. So Goligoski with 3 assists, and I think they showed that he had 11 minutes of ice time to get those 3 assists to that stage of the game. Played more than that for the whole game, but that's a pretty good usage of your time. Koskinen was then Koskinen on that goal was interfered with by one of his teammates. I wasn't sure whether I was going to write that above the goal or below. I wrote it below the goal, and sure enough, tripped myself up here. Yeah, Koskinen wasn't happy after the goal, so it looked like maybe he was arguing goalie interference. Now, he was just mad because his own player interfered with him. And there was also one of the Oilers screening him, so that's got to be rough when your own players, don't worry, I'm right here. Can you get out of my way? The Coyotes pushed for more, and this was a really large swing in momentum, because up until these 2 goals for Arizona, the Oilers were having a great road period. Third period, the Coyotes got some pressure around the 5-minute mark. That pressure was building. Koskinen saved. They didn't get a lot of shots out of that pressure, but when you're keeping the puck at the other end, they can't score. The Coyotes, 11-0-1 when starting the third period with the lead. That record, a little bit tinged tonight, but they still haven't lost in regulation when they're leading going into the third period. McDavid had a nice tip that went wide at 11 minutes and 30 seconds. However, around 11:30. However, Marcus Granlund with his 3rd goal in 4 games. That's from Patrick Russell at 13-12, and this is where I'm going to nitpick. So you've got Chris Russell, you've got Patrick Russell, both playing for the Oilers. Now, I don't know why this is, but it doesn't matter what broadcast I'm watching. They just say the assist to Russell. What do I say? Which one? And not only do they say the assist to Russell, but when they show the scoring play on the screen, it'll say Granlund from Russell. And I'm like, there's 2 of them. I get it in San Jose when it's Melker Karlsson or Erik Karlsson. When a point is scored, it's Erik's because Melker doesn't get points. But this is weird to me because you never saw, well, that goal was by Sedin from Sedin. There you go. They always said which one it was. So can we pretend that these guys have the same last name and it's the same situation? Because they do. And I know it's a nitpick, but it drives me crazy. Absolutely drives me crazy when they go, nice play by Russell. And then later on you'll hear, it's a challenging play there for Russell. I'm thinking, Which one? This isn't Rough Riders. I'm Canadian, and I understand the Rough Riders are great, but I was never a fan of the Rough Riders. I get that there's two different teams there. Russell's not the same thing. It was a close call for Cassian with 5 minutes and 30 seconds left. I know. Okay, Boomer, old man yells at Cloud, whatever. But this one goes to overtime. Both of the Russells ended up going to overtime with the Oilers. And why don't they have their initial on the back of the jerseys as well? Like, it's so weird. And it's sort of like the Carlsons in San Jose. Okay, fine. The Oilers took a timeout 1 minute and 9 seconds into the overtime. I was thinking at that point, I'm like, you know what? That's to rest McDavid and Draisaitl because you want them on the ice 3-on-3. Makes sense. And there was some really great back and forth action. Not a ton of shots for Arizona, but I thought they had some good looks in overtime. We go to a shootout. Who scores the winner in the shootout? Connor McDavid, because that's how Hollywood would want it. Connor McDavid scores the winner. The Oilers beat the Coyotes in Arizona. Both of these teams in the second half of a back-to-back, I thought they looked pretty good. And for the Coyotes, they're now 11-0-2 when they have a lead going into the third period. Koskinen saved 26 out of 29. He was very good. Kemper, 34 out of 37. Your 3 stars are McDavid, Granlund, and Goligoski. Power plays, 1 for 1 for the Oilers, 1 for 2 for the Coyotes. The shots were 15 apiece in the first period, 9-6 Oilers in the second, 10-7 Oilers in the third, and 3-1 Oilers in the overtime. Final shots, 37-29 for the Oilers. So winning it in the shootout, they were the better team throughout the night. The Coyotes get a point, and they have to be happy with how this went. And I think this was a very, very good game that showed these teams are very evenly matched. Now, for people wondering, we have now, with this one finished, played 364 games out of 1,271 on the schedule. So there's 907 games left, or 71.3% of the season. Some people are going to look at that and go, there's tons of time left. And there's people who are going to say, wait, we're 28.7% of the way through the season? Yep, we're over a quarter of the way through. Now, if the playoffs started today, you would have the Capitals against Philadelphia. You'd have the Islanders against Carolina. You would have Boston against Pittsburgh. You would have Florida against Montreal. But in the hunt, with a lot of games in hand, I think 3 on most of the teams ahead of them, and with a better winning percentage is Tampa. So they are worthy of note. In the West, you'd have St. Louis against Colorado. Who doesn't want to see that as a playoff series? Dallas against Winnipeg. That would lead to war in this house, and I don't think we need war because I'm just kidding. My wife and I would just really enjoy that series. I think it would be fun. We would end up cheering for whichever team won that series because that's kind of how it works. There's not really a rivalry there. The Oilers would play Vegas. Who doesn't want to see that? And then Arizona would play Vancouver in the most unlikely meeting that you could imagine on this board. In the hunt, San Jose, who have a game in hand on Vegas, they're 1 point back. So San Jose, worthy of note, an asterisk there. There are other teams that absolutely could find themselves in the mix as soon as a couple days from now. But it's funny because a lot of these teams that are in the top 16, top 8 here and top 8 here, have been consistently in the top 8 pretty much the whole season so far. So we'll see if that continues to be the case. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. It's been another great weekend. Tomorrow we have 9 games in the NHL because it is Thanksgiving week in the U.S. and the schedule changes up a little bit. We're busy on Wednesday, we're busy on Friday and Saturday, and this is all because American Thanksgiving. But Thursday, which is, I believe, Thanksgiving, Thursday is a one game day. So there you go. I believe it's 1 game that day, 1 or 2. I don't know where I'm looking. I'm looking literally at a cat tree in the corner. There's no reason to look in that direction. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. At my last check, we're about 40 subscribers short of 128,000. And thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.